Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to welcome you to the City of Fayetteville City Council meeting. I'd like to officially call this meeting to order. And this evening, Dr. Nair Glover, our councilwoman, will lead us in invocation. Then we ask if you would please stand after the invocation and face the flag and do our Pledge of Allegiance. Dr. Glover.
Bow our heads, please. Dear Heavenly Father, we come before you today seeking your guidance and your blessings as we gather for this important meeting. We acknowledge your presence in our midst and humbly invite your wisdom to guide our discussions and decisions. We ask for your blessings upon our city, its residents, as well as all that call it home. Grant us the wisdom to make the decisions that are just, fair, and in the best interest of our constituents. Lord, we are also lifting up our city in our challenges and in our aspirations to you. May your presence be the source of our comfort, strength, and inspiration. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Please stand and join us in citing the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Again, we welcome each and every one of you. If you're citizens of the city of Fayetteville or you're presenting to the council tonight, we thank you for coming, and we hope that you will see this city council and our staff continuing to establish policies and directions for the city that moves us in a positive manner. At this time, I would like to entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda, or if there are any changes, if there are any.
Move to approve.
Second.
Mayor, we need to table item number 6.
Okay. Would you like to amend the motion, Councilman Scott Stacy?
Amended as stated.
Okay. Second also?
Second.
Okay. The motion is that we approve the agenda with the noting item number 6 to be tabled. It's been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposers, nay. Ladies and gentlemen, the approval of the minutes from the February 8th, 2024 City Council retreat. What is your pleasure?
Move to approve.
Second.
Abstain.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
With one abstainer, Councilwoman Glover. The approval of the minutes of the February 9th, 2024 City Council retreat.
Move to approve.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. Any unreadiness? Call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposers?
Abstain.
One abstainer. Approval of the minutes of the February 15th regular City Council meeting.
Move to approve.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. Any unreadiness? Call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposers, nay. And the approval of the minutes of the February 27th City Council work session.
Move to approve.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. Any unreadiness? Call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any,
Abstain.
one abstainer. Any opposers? Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we are always proud whenever we have recognitions, presentation. We take pride in the relationships that we have, especially with our veterans organization. And at this time, we're going to ask Commander Larry Delph, Commander of VFW Post 3650, to come and to give a Public Safety Employee of the Year award.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Turn it on.
There it is. Okay. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it, and members of council, thank you for allowing me to come. This is always a great time that I always enjoy every year of coming before you and presenting 2 individuals that have been selected by their peers as outstanding employees. I feel that we have 2 of the best public safety entities in the entire state. They've always been that way. Fire department, police department, both are exemplary in all that they do. This year, our fireman that was presented was, or nominated was Captain Joshua Collins. Captain Collins ended up finishing third in the state. Unfortunately, Peachtree City does the judging, so they won. So what can I say? I'll get on the judging one day. But if Captain Collins would come and if my guys would like to come up, we'll present this to him. Just right around. Captain, we've known each other a long time. And you've, I know you've been at my house several times hearing me out. And you're one of the ones that came and, after my wife said, send the four biggest, so. I would, it's always an honor to present this to you. And this is a little token of our thanks. So, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Maybe we can get the council and chiefs up here also. Y'all can stay. The other one, which is one of our finest, is the police department. And we've had a fantastic police group just as long as I can remember. And with the leadership that we have, I think we're well known throughout the state as a safe community, and it's because of these individuals that we have that it is safe. And this year's Veterans of Foreign Wars certificate of appreciation goes to Officer Kenneth, well, I'm gonna butcher it, I know, Maurice. Come here. Yeah, I did it last year for
You guys good.
Here's the certificate for you, and this is a little something that I think you would in the job too. There we go. You get in here.
Shift a little bit so you can all see this.
Yeah, you better than that. This camp's not.
There is no doubt that we recognize that we have the finest public safety personnel in the city of Fayetteville. And we want to thank the VFW Post 3650 for recognizing and always helping our officers be appreciated. So again, let's give the VFW Post a round of applause. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we need to conduct the business of the city. So at this time, we move to public hearings. Item number 6 was tabled by the applicant. We move on to item number 7. Consider resolution 0-04-24 and 0-0524. A request from Rochester DCCM for the property located at the northwest quadrant of Highway 54 West and Ginger Cake Road intersection. Parcels number 052, 003, 0522, 033, and 0522, 048 to amend the future land use map from neighborhood center to neighborhood residential, presented by our Director of Community and Economic Development, Mr. David Rast.
Mr. Mayor, before Mr. Rask gets started, I spoke to the applicant's counsel. In the interest of time, because there's 2 matters to be considered, they've agreed to allow, let's do it one time, have one public hearing, one presentation. But I would recommend that in the interest of fairness, because we're combining 2, that Mayor consider being a little generous with providing the applicant a few minutes extra time to accommodate for both.
No problem, sir. Thank you, our city attorney.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening, Mr. Rast.
As you mentioned tonight, we are considering 2 requests, one to amend the future land use map and the other to rezone the property from NC neighborhood commercial to residential multifamily. The property is located at the intersection of Highway 54 and Ginger Cake Road. It abuts property within the city of Fayetteville and within unincorporated Fayette County, which is why we have 2 maps on the screen. To the north is the villas at Ginger Cake, which is within the city of Fayetteville. That is zoned professional office. To the east is Ginger Cake Road and the commercial across to the east. That is zoned neighborhood commercial. To the west is Lakeview Estates within unincorporated Fayette County. That is zoned R40 single-family residential. And to the south, across Highway 54, we have property zoned professional office and neighborhood commercial within the city, and office institutional R40 single-family residential within the county. The existing land use designation is neighborhood center, as is the bulk of the property within the Highway 54 east or west corridor. And the purpose of that was when we were looking at the land use map, we looked at the previous designation of that and felt that the neighborhood commercial would provide an opportunity to buffer the residential areas that were farther off the road than right against the road. I'll go over the site plan the applicant's proposing briefly. They have a presentation as well. What they're proposing is a 254 unit, single-family detached, horizontal multifamily development. That's a lot of words, but basically it's single cottages that are all for rent on the development. There are 78 one-bedroom units, 99 two-bedroom units, and 77 three-bedroom units, and the overall density is 8.5 units an acre. The site plan as presented shows a total of 577 parking spaces, some of those covered, most of those not. The primary access points are Highway 54 and Ginger Cake Road, and the secondary access from Ginger Cake Road is designated for emergency access only. They provided schematic elevations of the buildings that are being proposed. Again, it's a mix of duplexes, which are primarily the one-bedroom units, and then the other units, which are the 2- and 3-bedroom units. And They would all, again, be all freestanding structures except for the duplexes. Those would be joined. So going back to the request, we are considering two requests tonight. One of those is the amendment to the future land use map. As you recall, back in 2022, we updated the comprehensive plan, submitted that to the state, and also as a part of that, we updated the future land use map based on the recommendations in the comprehensive plan. The map that you see before you is what was adopted. The area that's highlighted in red is the property in question. And again, along the major thoroughfares, Highway 54, Highway 85 South, and Highway 85 North are predominantly, the land use designation is neighborhood center. So the applicant is proposing to, or requesting to change that to neighborhood residential 2. That land use designation does allow residential development. When we were looking at the UDO, we also established criteria, excuse me one second. So if the change to neighborhood residential, it would change essentially the color on the map, but also the uses that could be permitted on that particular property. Going back to the UDO, again, when we adopted that last year, we adopted criteria specific to requesting amendments to the comprehensive plan and the future land use map. Those are identified in section 104-13-E. There are 8 standards that we look at when staff is reviewing the application to make our recommendation to both the Planning and Zoning Commission and to the City Council. So in looking at the request that's been proposed, looking at the land use map that was adopted, the comprehensive plan that was adopted, and development patterns that have occurred within the 54 West Corridor, our recommendation, our opinion is that the land use map should not be changed, that the land use designation of neighborhood commercial should remain primarily to maintain the consistency of the development patterns within the 54 West corridor. Also added on here, when we took this to the Planning Commission on February 27th, they voted unanimously to forward that to City Council with a recommendation that it not be approved. So moving on to the second request, which is the request to rezone the property from neighborhood commercial to residential multifamily. Again, this is the zoning map that was approved last year. We did make some changes after we went through the comprehensive plan and the future land use map amendment. We also adopted some changes to the zoning map. And this particular tract, again, consistent with the future land use map, the properties within the 54 West Corridor were all designated as neighborhood commercial. What the applicant is proposing is to change that to residential multifamily, again, which would introduce a residential component adjacent to Highway 54. Again, looking at this and going through the UDO and the recommendations within there, from a staff perspective, if the comprehensive plan and the future land use map are not approved, we do not support the rezoning as presented. And again, I mentioned that the Planning and Zoning Commission voted unanimously to forward this request to City Council with the recommendation that it not be approved. We do have some conditions if the land use map is changed and the rezoning is approved. I won't go over those. We'll wait and see how this goes, but essentially on both the future land use map amendment and the request to rezone, our recommendation is that they not be approved.
Thank you, Mr. Rass. Is the applicant here or representative wish to come forward and address the council?
So that's, I'm not highlighting. Is it that towards left or right? Is the white one?
This way.
Yep, okay.
I always get nervous when I get handed these. My technological skills are weak. My name's Den Webb, 1105 West Peachtree Street, Atlanta, Georgia, 30309, here on behalf of the applicant. Let me introduce a couple folks who are here with me. The first is the big fellow with the beard in the middle. His name is Sean Rust. He's a vice president of development for Next Metro. Next Metro is a purported developer. To his right, my left, is Al Horsford with HFG Development. He's here on behalf of the landowners. And finally, we've got Kedrick Scott from Rochester, who is the project engineer. For those who don't know, Next Metro is the largest developer of Class A single-family detached rental communities in America. These are look and leave communities. All maintenance is provided both inside and outside the facilities. Residents are typically older professionals, and I'm talking a little bit more about that in a minute. And Next Metro has developed 55 projects around the country and is developing one in Georgia now and several more in the state that are in process. Dave did a good job of explaining a little bit about the property, but I'm going to tell you a little bit about the property history. The land you saw is 30 acres, and it's an assemblage of 3 tracts. These tracts have had a commercial zoning for decades, and I think you guys know that. The owners of the property have actively attempted to sell them as commercially zoned for decades as well, one for 43 years. They've had a few people come and kick the tires over the years. Lowe's looked at the site, for example, at some point. But no one has been willing to buy or use these properties as commercially zoned. And the owners believe they finally found an economically viable use for this property, and it will theoretically provide housing that the data that I'm going to go over tonight shows the city needs. We've been working on this application for a long time as well. We met with neighbors. There have been 11 meetings with the city, most of which were before we filed anything. Those included meetings with staff and elected officials. We've made a variety of changes to the site plan based on the feedback we received from the various stakeholders before we ever even filed. And Mr. Rass just went through his analysis, but he left out part of the story that I'm going to cover now. The original request we filed was for 266 single-family detached units, and we also sought 2 variances. The staff reviewed that request against the criteria Mr. Rass just referred to and issued a staff report, which I assume you've all have seen. And that staff report recommended approval of both the rezoning request and the future land use map amendment, subject to conditions, all of which the applicant is willing to accept. In that report, staff made a couple suggestions. Again, they recommended approval, but said, we'd like this a little bit better if you did a couple things. One of which was to change the zoning district. They said if you change the zoning district from what you originally requested to MF 15, you're not going to need one of the variances. So we went back, as suggested, revised the application, sought the rezoning district the staff recommended, made the other changes the staff had proposed, and told us they liked, and we resubmitted. All we did was exactly what the staff hoped we would do in the staff report that they issued recommending approval of both the future land use map amendment and the rezoning request. And what we got back was a staff recommendation of denial for both. It was a head scratcher then, and it's a head scratcher tonight. David talked a little bit about the site plan and covered a lot of it. I'm not going to go through all of it, but let me hit the high points. First of all, what you see in front of you is 254 units. So we reduced the density, again, as suggested by staff, to 8.5 units per acre. You'll notice, and you were told, that these are effectively detached rental homes that you can see are dispersed around essentially a ring road. As you heard, these are a combination of 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms, all are 1 story, and as you saw, these are designed in the craftsman style. The primary access point, as you heard, is on Highway 54, and we've got 2 secondary access points on Ginger Cake Road. We've always tried to emphasize green space on this property, which includes a central green that you'll see bisecting the property in the middle of the site. This development meets all development requirements of the RMF 15 district. As I mentioned, we saw 2 variances before, we went back, revised the plan, and now we don't need any. As you heard, that also includes a provision for all the parking the code requires. I also mentioned at the beginning that this developer will provide all maintenance for the residents of this site. That includes not just the grounds, but whatever help they need inside. You need a light bulb change, you call these guys, they're going to come change it for you. We've done a lot of analysis of sort of the rental situation here in the city. You'll see that we've looked at the properties in proximity. The density range for those properties is 5.19 units per acre to 22.32 units per acre. The average of those properties is 11.8. Again, we are seeking 8.5, which is well below that average that I just referred to. We also looked at what we consider the comparable Class A properties in proximity. The good news is you can see from this chart that there's a lot of demand for Class A rental property here in the city. The bad news is, as you can also tell from the chart, there's nowhere near enough capacity. The 2 fully developed sites, the Meridian at Lafayette, Premier Lofts at Trilith, have a vacancy rate of 3.4%, which by industry standards is incredibly low. This is a profile of the typical resident. As you'll see, the majority of residents are professional millennials, a significant number of which are actually nurses, which I think is relevant here because we've got a hospital next door, and my understanding is they can't staff that hospital because the nurses can't find a place to live nearby. But that is certainly a significant part of our demographic. Most residents are 35 years and above. The average income level is $132,000, and interestingly, there are very few children. The information that I just provided is based on a compendium of the 4 states in which Next Metro has developed properties and the residents in each of those states. And you'll see that 81% of the residents in the 55 projects that they have don't have any kids at all. David covered these elevations, so I'm just going to rip through them fairly quickly because I want to get to your questions and abbreviate my presentation. But let me just touch on a few things. As you can see from the data, we think this is the product the city needs. There's simply not enough Class A space now, and there is demand for it. We requested what we consider a reasonable density. As I indicated before, it's below the average of the other rental communities in proximity. We think this is a much better use than the commercial zoning on the property now. Again, we've had trouble for a long time selling it. The market doesn't believe this is a commercial site. But let's say Lowe's did go in there, okay, which is absolutely a possibility. They can go in there tomorrow as of right. You'd have parking lot lights, you'd have building lights, you've had dumpsters in the back, you've had 18-wheelers pulling up and delivering at all hours of the night. You'd have a lot more impervious surface on the site. Commercial allows 60%. Our development is only proposing 41%. And you'd have a lot more traffic. We've submitted some information on traffic already. It's part of the record. But as you may have seen from that information, a big box retailer on this property would generate 5 times the number of trips that we will in the afternoon rush hour. I think lastly, again, going back to the type of folks who like to live here, these are the demographics that every city wants. Older, higher earning professionals who have almost no children. So with that, I think I'll stop. I'm happy to take any questions you have. I'll reserve my time. I note that Mr. Rass mentioned that there were conditions in the staff report that have been proposed. We agree to all of those. So we'd ask that the applications be approved subject to those conditions. And with that, I will conclude. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate your presentation to the council. At this time, yes, sir, are you a part of the applicant?
I'm ready to comment, public comment now.
Just have a seat, sir. Before we entertain public comments for or against this item, on the agenda, we want to establish the protocol because it appears that some of you may not be familiar with the protocols for the Fayetteville City Council. When you come, we first of all ask you to state your name and your address, verifying that you are a resident of the city of Fayetteville. Then we allow you 3 minutes to make your comments pro or against. In that 3 minutes, we ask that you, if you're coming up behind someone who's already made comments, we ask that you do not repeat the same comments, i.e., we're concerned about the traffic. We've heard it and we understand it. But if you are coming up, we ask that you would please maintain proper decorum. We ask that there be no shouting or cheering when the person is speaking, and allow the council members to respond if there's a need to respond to the speaker. Can we abide by those protocols? Okay. Sir, you have the floor.
Mr. Mayor, if I could remind you and the audience, you allow 10 minutes for those in favor and 10 minutes total for those opposed.
That is correct.
So it'd be a
Okay.
good idea for both sides to budget their time.
I'm Richard Moses, and I live at Ginger Cake Villas, right behind the proposed development. I'm going to read some of the excerpts from reviews from a Villas, Deer Valley, Arizona. These people are angry, but they've taken the time to write these reviews as a warning to others. October 1st, 2022. I've lived here 3 years. Prices increased drastically while service decreased drastically. Quality of neighborhood becoming bad and scary. Management changes monthly. I advise against anyone moving here. The property has gone downhill. Rent has increased $1,000, and there are fees for adding or removing roommates. They charge for a water filter and force monthly fees. Really poor and indifferent management. Too many break-ins and occasional gunfire from drug deals gone bad. Parking is a huge issue. No parking, and they tow people every night. The water heater is so small you can run out of hot water after one shower. This is the noisiest place I've ever lived in. The walls are paper thin and you can hear everything outside. Dog friendly means you hear them barking all hours of the day and night. There are no parking spots. People are parking in fire lanes in the middle of the road and in front of dumpsters, and they threaten to tow us. There's millions of bugs. Our unit has been crawling with crickets, centipedes, spiders, cockroaches, and many other bugs I've never seen in my life. Now, from Fort McKinney, Texas, noise pollution, terrible location, unmanaged traffic all around. You pull your own weeds, floors are piss poor, backyard, floods during heavy rains, parking issues galore, gates are broken most of the time. Now, I asked the mayor and the city council members, please don't imagine for a second that a Villas here will be any different. They've got a track record, and it is bad. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moses. Appreciate it. Anyone else? Yes, sir. Please don't forget to give us your name and your address, please,
Yes,
for the
thank you.
record.
Mike Loper, 385 Rehoboth Way, Fayetteville, Georgia, the Villas at Ginger Cake. I've lived there, for original owner, it's a great community, but the adjacent property that's in question, I would highly recommend, based upon taking into consideration what the Planning and Zoning Committee did, that you not approve this project. I don't consider myself an expert, but for the last 5 years, I've been a erosion control inspector, national pollution discharge elimination system inspector. I get hired by the contractor to go in every week, every 7 days, or when there's a rain event of a half an inch or more. And I've done that for about the last 5 years with HB Next. So I've seen firsthand what happens, the clearing and grubbing. In that particular site, the elevation is going to have to be reduced significantly. You're going to clear and grub, which means you're going to remove all the trees. You're going to install 2 large detention ponds. For a significant period of time, there will not be any stabilization of that soil. That takes place later on with vegetation or pine straw and things that they put down, hydroseeding. We have a large detention pond on our side at the Villas at Ginger Cake, and one concern I have is Lake Bennett, which is by the old mill, that's had some very interesting situations recently from the new data center, from Trilith. Was a lawsuit, and I have no right to talk about that. But the water coming out of our detention pond, which is properly installed, vegetation, all the requirements, feeds through a small little creek into Bennett Lake. When you add this additional property, you're going to have that much more water and sediment, if not properly controlled, feeding in through that creek into Bennett Lake, which could exacerbate the sediment issue that is an ongoing issue with Bennett Lake. So I would highly recommend you not approve this project. Clearing and grubbing, and just the fact that you're going to have, and I'm sorry, our property is about 50 feet lower than the topography elevation indicated in the drawings, and it's a 25 to 50 foot buffer zone. If those detention ponds blow out or there's significant runoff that's not properly controlled, we're in a bad situation. So that sediment or that runoff could come right into our property. So thank you for hearing me, and again, I hope you will not approve this project.
Thank you, Mr. Lober. Appreciate it.
I'm Monk Robinson at 150 Swansea Lane, also in the Villas at Ginger Cake. I'm offended by all the rental properties that are so expensive. And it's not that they're rental properties, it's prices and what that means. So I'll read from here. Next Metro claims that the average household income of their tenants will be $132,000 a year. Is that realistic? Are there really 254 households in Fayette County who make that much money every year and prefer to rent a place instead of buying one? It's an important question because if there aren't enough high-income people who prefer to rent, the property managers will be forced to lower their rents and lower their standards for who lives there. My daughter and her husband are 30 years old. They live in a rented duplex in Fayetteville, and their household income is about $100,000 a year. They're not looking for a fancier, more expensive place to rent. They want an affordable starter home in Fayette County that costs less than $300,000. I don't want to trap the next generation in expensive rental properties that make it impossible to build long-term home equity. Let's find ways to build homes that our young people can afford to buy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson.
Hi. My name is Melody Goodrich Green. I live at 110 Creekside Trail, Fayetteville, Georgia, around the corner. I guess I just want to say something positive, and Mr. Monks and I spoke last time and thought it was a good time to go after him. Meaning no harm. I just feel like the room doesn't necessarily reflect the need for this type of property in Fayetteville. Much like myself, young family who has to make a decision on T-ball, working late, or coming to these types of meetings to advocate for how much we need to live closer to where we work, right? I think the ideal person who really needs this is someone like myself who grew up here, wanted to be close to my family, and I said a lot of this last time, so I'll try not to repeat myself too much, but I grew up here, want to live close to my family, and when I looked at the marketplace just today, there's 400 houses available in Fayette County, and I think there's less than 100 that are under 400,000. So when it comes to what's available here, what I can afford is not something of quality, right? And Mr. Monks talked about being trapped in rentals. It'd be kind of a trap to buy something now at astronomical interest rates, low inventory, all the above, right? We don't know what it's gonna look like in 5-10 years from now, but this is a solution that works for us who can actually afford that, who work in healthcare, who work in, we can afford these kinds of things because we grew up here. You guys raised us in a way that we can actually do those things, and we want to be closer to home, and it's just not a possibility right now. And think the other gentleman mentioned that Fayette County Hospital isn't able to be staffed because there's no one able to work close to where they live. And I've experienced that as a resident here who can't get some of the things I need done at an efficient pace because things are severely understaffed. And I think a lot of them can also agree to that too, as a positive of possibly having these things added here. Largely, I think there's more positives, and I know it's kind of a firing squad against like the opposition here. So I just want to say something positive about the situation because it is a beautiful development, and I do think it could do a lot of good here. So that's all.
Thank you, Ms. Green. Appreciate your comments. Patrick, I think we've exceeded.
I've got 8 minutes and 45 seconds, so it's about a minute and 15 seconds left.
Okay, thank you.
I'm Chandra Hembry at 205 Swansea Lane in the Villas of Ginger Cake. And I would like to speak to the issue of the traffic on Ginger Cake. It's already bad. If you try to come out of Walgreens on that curve, and this, I've noticed it for the last year or two, but especially since we had the meeting on March 27th, I've paid particular attention. I cannot imagine what it would be like if we had this property that they're proposing. And I believe they're proposing 3 entrances out onto Ginger Cake. I don't see how that could ever happen. The zoning was just addressed 2 years ago, and it was established after a lot of research. I don't see why it would need to be changed now. We want it to stay the same. Our neighborhood does not want to see this happen, and I would hope that you all would vote against this. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Under the advisement of our attorney, and sir, your time is limited at this point. I'm going to allow you to come. If your comments are not going to be repetitive to what has already been said about traffic or anything about the construction or the land use map or anything like that.
No, it's going to
Okay?
be about child
I'll
trauma.
allow you 3 minutes and you.
Okay, my name is Wilfred Moody. I live at 210 Braemont Road, which is right across the intersection. I'm retired from Deltawood over 31 years. I've drove an 18-wheeler for over 21 years. I spent 7 years over the road. I can still remember places I've seen somebody get killed. So you're going to have kids going on a bus over to Hood Avenue School, and if they witness some of that some of us residents have seen, they're marked for life. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your efficiency in the time. At this time, I'll allow the applicant to come back if there are any rebuttals to anything that was stated from the citizens.
Yeah, I'll just touch on a couple things kind of in the order I heard them. The first, Mr. Moses referred to reviews. Next Metro has tens of thousands of residents. The fact that he could only find a couple of reviews is telling to me, particularly in this day and age where people seem to complain about everything. I don't think there's any surprise that somebody would complain. I think what is telling though is the fact that, again, we've got tens of thousands of residents, and the best he could do was find a couple who did complain, which means there are quite a few happy folks on these properties. The issue of grading and development was raised. Again, that is an issue that we addressed thoroughly at permitting. It is policed by both the city and the state. That also applies to stormwater management. And for the record, there's no stormwater management on this property at all now. And state law requires 110% capture of pre-development flow. So we will actually be improving the situation, which should make water coming onto or off the site better than it is today. There was a couple comments about households in Fayette County, whether they can afford this, whether this will trap them in some kind of rental cycle. The fact is, there are people who can afford it, and there are also plenty of people who are working here who don't have a good option, don't have the option they want. The fact is that people want this, okay? It's not that they can't afford a home. If you're making $132,000 a year, you can afford to buy a home. And to some extent, it's generational.
Folks, I've asked you all to not blurt out while someone else is speaking. We maintain proper decorum and respect in this council chambers.
The fact is that, when I was born, when my father was born, the American dream was to buy a home. That is not the dream for a lot of people now. They have different aspirations, they want to do different things, they want flexibility, and this kind of development allows it. And there was also a comment about traffic. Again, this property is zoned commercial. Lowe's could go on this site, Home Depot could go onto the site, QT, a variety of users that would put a traffic number on Ginger Cake Road, Highway 54 that would blow your mind. So for those who are actually interested in traffic as a concern, they ought to be looking at a development like this. You know, the fact is that, you know, thriving cities are made up of a lot of different people from diverse backgrounds with diverse needs, right? Not everybody wants the same thing, and we wouldn't be here if we didn't know that there is a demand for this product. There are professionals who make a lot of money, who want to live in this kind of development for the convenience it provides and the flexibility it provides, and that's why we're here. So, again, I think that that type of housing diversity, like diversity in all forms, is important for any city to thrive and prosper. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to bring the discussion back up to the Diaz, to the council members.
I'd like to make a motion to deny the amendment to the future land use map from neighborhood center to neighborhood residential 2.
Motion's been properly made. Do I have a second?
Yes, second.
Okay. Who made the second? Okay. Properly moved and seconded that we denied the request on 0-4-24 and 0-05-24.
Mr. Mayor, that, we're going to do these separately if.
You take them
one-
separate? Okay.
That's right.
All right. Councilman Hoffman, you want to redo your motion?
Both of them at the same time?
No, we're going to do two
Okay.
votes. We'll make
So
two
I did the
motions,
first
two
one,
votes.
which is the land use map.
Okay. Everybody understand? Councilman Hoffman making a motion that we deny the land use map request, and it's been seconded by Councilman Langford. Call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposers, nay. Okay. Second part of this request.
Make a motion to deny the, I don't know how the words are. The
Rezoning.
rezoning request from neighborhood commercial to
RM15.
RM15.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Properly moved and seconded that we deny. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposers, nay. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate you. Moving on to item number 8. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have to depart, we need to have some additional business to conduct, so please do so quietly and respectful. If you have to hold conversations, please make sure you hold them outside of the hearing here.
Came out pretty bad, doesn't it?
Mr. Mayor, I would recommend on the next one, because it's likewise a future land use map amendment and a rezoning, treat it just like we did before. We'll have one presentation, one public hearing, two votes.
Yes, sir. Okay. Thank you very much, City Attorney. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Walker, if you have a seat, please, sir. Consider item number 8, consider resolution 0-06-24 and 0-07-24. Staff initiated request for the property located at North 85 Parkway, parcels number 053911-004, to amend the future land use map from business park to industrial and rezone the property from neighborhood commercial to light industrial, presented by our planner, Ms. Nicole Gilbert.
Good evening.
Good evening, Nicole.
So this one should be brief. Staff has initiated a request to amend the future land use map and rezone this property here on North 85 Parkway. It's currently zoned neighborhood commercial and has a future land use designation of business park. The properties along North 85 Parkway are zoned a mixture of neighborhood commercial and light industrial. Uses range from beauty and wellness to junk removal. The applicant Arango Insulation is requesting the property be rezoned from neighborhood commercial to light industrial to construct a warehouse in order to expand their existing business and prevent the need to relocate. Arango Insulation has owned and operated their current location at 149 North 85 Parkway since 2009. That property is located just south of the existing property. Actually, I'm gonna go back. And I think it's this one right here. So they're just trying to jump across the street here. Their current location is zoned light industrial. This is the proposed site plan. Of note is the topography of this parcel. It's irregularly shaped, and there's a stream on the east boundary as well as the north. So the developable area is less than what many others would have. The existing land use designation for this property is business park, which is, this category of land is dedicated to maximize the potential for job creation. This land classification is for land dedicated to offices, research and development, healthcare, and education. The applicant's request for the subject tract to be rezoned from neighborhood commercial to light industrial to allow for a warehouse is not consistent with the comprehensive plan or the future land use map, which is why we're going through this and which is why they have to request the amendment first. For this change, or for this request, the future land use designation would need to be changed to industrial, which would allow the warehousing that they need. As you can see on the map, there's this is our future land use map. There's only 3 areas, actually there's a 4th that's not on the map, but there's only 3 small areas that are designated industrial, and all of them, or most of them, are full. I think there's 1 lot that's not developed. And then especially with the city being the 5th, excuse me, let me start over. Manufacturing is the city's 5th largest employer, yet there's only a small amount of land allocated for that use. So based on the reviews set forth in the UDO for amending the comprehensive plan and the future land use map, staff found the land use change would not be a burden to the infrastructure, nor would it adversely affect surrounding property. Staff also determined that when the future land use map and comprehensive plan were updated in 2022, the need for additional industrial properties was not adequately addressed. Manufacturing is the city's 5th largest employer, yet the percentage, as I mentioned before, is low. Staff has determined the land use designation and zoning of several of the parcels within the North 85 Parkway should be changed to allow for industrial use, and we'll be making that recommendation as part of the future land use map updates later. Based on the need for additional property, staff is of the opinion the subject tract is compatible with the surrounding industrial uses and recommends a request to amend the comprehensive plan and future land use map be approved. If you approve it, then the rezoning or requested rezoning would be more acceptable. This request was also reviewed based on the standards set forth in the UDO for rezoning. Staff found the proposed rezoning would not adversely affect the surrounding area and will be consistent with other industrial uses along North 85 Parkway. With that, staff finds the proposed rezoning will have little impact on the surrounding area and will be consistent with other industrial businesses along North 85 Parkway. Should the amendment to the future land use map be approved, staff is of the opinion the rezoning should be approved with the following condition: that the site plan not be part of this approval. And finally, just for reference, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval at the February 27th meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Gilbert. Appreciate it. Is the applicant here?
We are the applicant.
Okay. All right. We are. Council members, questions for Ms. Gilbert? Hearing none, is there a motion on this item? Or are there any citizens who wish to comment on this item? Seeing and hearing none, council members, what is your pleasure?
Move to approve 0624, which is the future land use map.
Okay. It's properly moved and seconded that we move to approve 0-06-24. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposers, nay. Okay, it's been approved. What is your pleasure with the rezoning of the property?
Move to approve 0.07-24 to rezone the property from neighborhood commercial NC to light industrial.
Second.
Properly moved in, second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposers, nay. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, moving on to item number 9, consider resolution R-1624, authorizing staff to transmit the capital improvement elements 2024 annual update for fiscal year 2023, presented by our Director of Community and Economic Development, Mr. David Rast.
Good evening again. This is more of a housekeeping issue. We're required to have a public hearing in order to transmit the capital improvement element to the Atlanta Regional Commission and DCA, and that is what we're bringing to you tonight, is approval of the transmittal resolution.
Council members, any questions for Mr. Rast? Any questions from the citizens on this item? Seeing and hearing none, council members, what is your pleasure?
Move to approve R-16-24.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. Any unreadiness? Call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposers, nay. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Consent agenda items, ladies and gentlemen. Item number 10, Resolution R-9-24, amendments to the Planning and Zoning Commission bylaws. Number 11, Resolution R-1424, 2024 Georgia Cities Week. And item number 12, Resolution R-15-24, job additions and reclassifications. Council members, what is your pleasure with these items for consent agenda?
Move to approve the consent agenda items R-924, R-14-24, R-15-24.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. Any unreadiness? Call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposers, nay. Move on to reports and comments, ladies and gentlemen. City Manager, Mr. Gibson, anything?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to update that the concert series tickets are now available for this year. We will have a Coffee with a Cop, our next Coffee with a Cop, on Wednesday, April 10th at the City Center Park. And we'll be honoring Autism Awareness Month, which will be in April. And we've just recently launched our new city podcast, and it can be found on our city's website. So some council members have participated in that, and everyone will be participating in that, so be prepared. And then I do want to recognize that we did celebrate Rich Hoffman's birthday on March the 6th. He's 35
And a half.
and a half.
Again.
And just a quick shout out.
5 times over.
Just a quick shout out to staff for the great job that they do.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Council members?
Still waiting for my presents.
Good luck with that. Daryl, you want to report on our committee meeting?
Oh, yes. We did have a committee meeting concerning the smokeless Fayetteville. And, some of the things that were talked about were, if we really wanted to have a smoke-free Fayetteville. One of the issues that we ran into was, would this be able to be monitored and reported properly? Another of the other things that we talked about was, if we were to do this, would we, how would it affect some of the businesses that are participating in things such as, events that pertain to cigar smoking or cigar events? And, we needed to sit down with some of the businesses to talk to them about that to see how that would affect them. So wrapping it all up, we came to the conclusion that the city's not prepared or actually ready to approve something of that nature. And that's the report on the smoke-free Fayetteville.
Thank you, Councilman Langford. Anyone else? Hearing none, at this time, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to open the floor up to public comments. If you're a citizen of the city of Fayetteville, please come up. If you got commendations, complaints, or criticism, the city council is here to listen. Remember, you have 3 minutes. Please come up, give us your name, and please give us your address as well. Floor is open for public comments.
Good evening. My name is Edith Underwood, and I live at 160 Rehoboth Way, Fayetteville, Georgia. And I had been coming to the planning committee meetings that they had previously about 5 years ago, and they were taking a survey. And my recommendation was if we could have more lighting, more lights going down 54 and coming from Trillett, the FW Parkway, because unless you know where you're going, like coming out from Trillett to come around the corner to come up to the hospital to get back on 54, you can't even see that there's a curb there. So when you make that turn, unless you know that the curb is there, I'm just afraid that people are gonna make that wide turn and end up having an accident. So if you could take it into consideration to have more lighting.
We'll take it
down
into
54
consideration.
And Trillett.
Again, City Manager, a lot of that is the right-of-way is owned by GDOT, Georgia Department of Transportation, and we'd have to work with them and the potential developer to ensure additional lighting. Am I right, City Manager?
Well, the lighting is usually addressed when projects are submitted as well for the vacant land that's around there. When projects are submitted, then the lighting is usually addressed as part of those plats.
Okay, so.
In other words, we'll look into it, but until a developer comes, again, the funding and all of that has to be looked at to put additional lighting. And the best way to do that is to work with the developer that's coming in the area. Okay, but we will monitor it.
If we were to go right now and put a whole bunch of lights there and a development comes in and changes that dynamic, that's just a waste of taxpayers' money to put that in. So we'll figure it out as the area develops more.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I got a paper here that says that the city was supposed to cut the ditches on the north side of Georgia Avenue.
Mr. Walker, please, for the record, state your name and your address, please.
Name is Joseph Walker.
And your address?
And they're supposed to cut the ditches on the north side of Georgia Avenue in the year 2000.
Your address, Mr. Walker.
They don't have it yet.
Your address.
How can I hear you?
Your address, the residence.
I said I got the papers where they're supposed to cut the ditches on the north.
Go ahead, Mr. Walker. Go ahead on with your comments. Your 3 minutes begin.
And this man supposed to come the other day as assistant to the main man. I can't think of his name now. He's over on First Manassas Mile. He sent a man over there.
Excuse me.
He sent a man over there from Atlanta, a civil engineer, and he told him that water will not run uphill. And he come and cut the things out of the detention pond down there back of Alvarez's buildings, and it's still running in there. And a boy come out there with a lawnmower. He went round and round and round to scare up fleas, trash, and anything to put in the thing to keep it from getting in the detention pond and going into Nash Creek. And I had stuff piled under the sheds. It's done burned. I had 2 big oak trees that died. I got 2 pear trees that's died now. And everything, he's poisoned the land up there. Nobody will do nothing about it. And Ray said that he would not clean out the ditches at the north side of Georgia Avenue because the people would fill them back up. Well, you can stop that. You can make them dig it out by hand with a hand shovel and a wheelbarrow. And the leaves, the trash, and everything off of Georgia Avenue, Jeff Davis, he's the one who comes right up there and stopped in my front yard. And I'm gonna have to have my leg where I fell over at City Hall. I got the papers on it right here. Nellie Cooper never done another thing to it. She never did nothing, except I got a bill there from a chiropractor I got up one morning and I couldn't walk. I give her the bill and she wadded it up and threw it in the trash can. And I got the bill right here now. It's I didn't bring no glasses and I can't see it. Can you see it, huh, Hoss? Tell me the date on this.
The incident date is 1/23 of 2018.
2018 is when I fell. She had done nothing. Not the first thing. I gotta go have my knee replaced now, and I'm gonna have to mortgage my home to where I can sit my wife in a nursing place where she can stay. And that is the poorest town that I ever seen. This is the poorest town east of the Mississippi River for doing anything.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. Your time is up. We appreciate your comments. Thank you very much. Any other citizens wish to come and make comments? Hearing none, ladies and gentlemen, we need to go into executive session to discuss potential litigation. You're welcome to stay, but this essentially ends the city council meeting for tonight, with the exception of us reporting back out from the executive session. You're welcome to stay, but I don't know how long we'll be. At this time, I'll entertain a motion that we go to executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.